Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Welcome, everyone. At this point, I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for our military.
There's flags on the screens.
See one right there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the district clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno,
Present.
Mr. Murphy,
Present.
Mrs. Mallon,
Present.
Mrs. Kennedy,
Present.
Dr. Adams,
Present.
Mrs. Augulus.
She just stepped out a moment.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Hutchinson,
Present.
Mr. Middleman,
Present.
Mr. Hauser,
Present.
Mr. Kulahifar,
Present.
and we do have Miss Santo and Miss O'Hara joining us, and then myself, Miss Kemp, the district clerk.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move to the Audit Committee. I need a motion and a second to suspend the business meeting.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Hi, Allie.
Yes, how are you?
Good. How are you? I think everyone can hear you. If you'd like to start.
Okay, great. So I have two reports to go over this evening, and I should be quick because I'm happy to report there really are not many findings. The first report is the payroll, procurement and claims processing report, and basically that was our in-depth cycle report where we went into detail and we met with the purchasing agent and also in the business office, anyone that's involved with the procurement and claims, and also the claims auditor. And what we do is we document your procedures. So we documented the competitive bid process, your quotation process, the procurement process, the federal award procurement policy, as they have a separate for your federal awards. We looked at the cash disbursement process. We also interviewed your claims auditor and described all those procedures that they perform. We looked at travel and conference and documented those procedures, as well as the credit cards and cell phones. And then we basically looked at all your policies relating to procurement, and we're happy to report that everything was, we had no exceptions that we found. We also reviewed your claims auditor reports and had no exceptions. We also looked at your competitive bids and quotations and had no findings. We also sampled disbursements from your warrants, and we found no exceptions there as well. We also tested some payments related to travel and conference, and we didn't have any issue there. So there was all approvals. Everything was proof of attendance, everything was in place. Same thing with the cell phones. We did look at the authorized cell phones for the district use, and we didn't have any issues, as well as the district credit cards. We then looked at your 1099 compliance to make sure that you did issue IRS Form W-9s and also IRS Form 1099 forms if you did have any vendors that were paid more than $600 as according to IRS regulations. And we had no issues there as well. So that was a really good report. I don't think I've ever had an in-depth study report that had no findings, so I was very happy to report this one. The second report is the risk assessment update. Basically, we do this every year, and we take from last year, and we look at the findings, and we comment on it if it has been implemented or it has not been implemented. So basically, we deem it as high risk, moderate risk, or low risk. High risk means it's immediate attention that you have to, we really want you to focus your attention on this. Moderate risk means that we have some risk items that we need you to address, and low risk means we have no issues at all. So I'm happy to report there are no high-risk items. We did have some moderate risk items, and it was just from the status of the prior year, so we didn't have any new current ones for moderate risk. And that was just with the reserves and fiscal health. the school lunch fund had a negative fund balance for the past 3 years, and that, you were over the 4% for the general fund. We also had, for the information technology, the governance, so basically looking at notifications to make sure that they're in place. And I know that the district already implemented this, as I have been working with the district after we issued these reports to make sure that this will be rectified. So I'm happy to report next year when we go to test this, it should reduce to low, so we shouldn't have any more findings. As well as the network security, basically just looking to making sure that everything's locked and secure, and there's cameras in there, and that temperature controlled, everything related to the mainframes of the district's servers. So I know the district's already in the process of addressing those items as well. And then I'm happy to report there were some items that we had as moderate risk last year that we deemed it low risk because the district did implement. So now the Board of Ed does receive monthly revenue and appropriation status reports required by Commissioner's regulations. Also, that we receive trial balances to the boards on a monthly basis, as well as cash flow. So we did reduce that to also for the benefits for retiree health insurance, the district does have a process to contact all retirees. And also they did implement written policies and procedures to monitor the status of all retirees receiving coverage. Extra classroom, cash receipts and cash disbursements. We did make some selections, and we noticed that all the voucher packages were probably canceled, so that means basically they were stampeded so that they could duplicate that payment. And also that we noticed that we did implement pre-numbered cash receipt forms as suggested by Finance pamphlet number 2 from the Iowa State Education Department. And then we just have some low risk items that we did some current year review, basically look at some different areas. So we did look at your cash management, looking at your cash, looking at your wire transfer and banking controls, your bank reconciliations, your banking security. We also looked at your grants, making sure that you do have the policies and procedures that were in place, the allowable costs and compliance with those. We also looked at your payroll distribution, the payroll accounting and reporting, and also the tax filing and reconciliation process, so your 941 recs. We looked at capital assets, looking at your capitalization policy, inventory tracking, how you inventory and tracking those capital assets. And then we did look at transportation services. We just had the service on student transportation, looking at your contracts and the state aid. So that's all we have for this year, and then we have a proposed cycle to do for 21-22 school year, and we're saying to do transportation services as our in-depth cycle report. But if the board committee report would like us to look at a different area, we can change that as well. And if there's any questions from the board, I'd be happy to take them.
Board?
So I would like to know, when was the last time that our lunch program was, had a, looked at for the audit process?
So I know that we started in 2018-19 school year, and we did not look at the school lunch fund, so since we've been as internal auditors at NECWA.
Okay, I'd like to add that.
Okay, so you'd rather do the school lunch operations versus the maybe do transportation the following year?
When was the last time we did transportation?
That wasn't done by us either, but we were just started in 2019.
When you look at transportation, what exactly are you looking at?
So basically, we're going to look at your transportation with your contracts. We're going to also look at the bus routes, making sure that your efficiency of how you do the routes, basically how many people are on. There's also all different types of laws and regulations related to it, so we just want to make sure that you're in compliance.
Well, I don't mind. Whatever you want, Marlon.
If I could get an answer when the lunch, I'm sorry, when the transportation was last done, because if you're saying that lunch was done about 2 years ago, I have to assume that transportation was probably done a lot longer than that.
I don't remember transportation ever being done.
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna have to go with transportation, because you can only do one, you can't do two.
Okay, transportation, if everyone agrees with that? If everyone agrees with transportation,
So she can only do one, she can't do two?
Red light is on. Light is on. It must be closer to your face, even closer with the mask on.
Thank you.
Anyways, I'd like to know if, both of you done transportation and lunch program. Are you currently
But we're contracted to do one cycle, but if you wanted to do another cycle, then I could give you a cost for that second cycle.
Let's just stick with transportation this year, because we really haven't touched that in a while. We kind of know what's going on with the lunch program. What do you think?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, need a
Okay,
consensus from
and
the
if
board?
you do change your mind before we start the audit, you can just let Bob House know, and we can change it, it's totally fine.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, I need a motion and a second to accept the internal auditor's review of procurement and claims processing audit report and risk assessment update report as encumbered in the attached reports. Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Okay, we're going to go to the minutes of the Board of Ed.
Okay, thank you, have a good evening, everyone.
Take care. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the audit committee meeting and resume the business meeting. Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the Board of Education, to accept the minutes of August 3rd, 2021 business meeting, audit committee meeting. All in favor? After the motion?
Motion.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we're going to move to the public agenda. I'd like to make a motion to move the agenda to a public comment up to now, starting now. I need a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before we start public participation, I'd like to have the district clerk read our policy, so we all have an understanding of respect, what we should be doing here this evening.
So board policy 1230, public comment at board meetings. The Board of Education encourages public comment on school-related matters at board meetings. To allow for public comment, a period not to exceed 30 minutes shall be set aside up to 2 times during a regularly scheduled board meeting. The period may be extended by a majority vote of the board. Persons wishing to address the board shall address the board president. If the speaker represents an organization, it must be identified. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must be represented by a single spokesperson. Presentation should be as brief as possible. No speaker shall be permitted to speak for longer than 3 minutes or at the discretion of the board president. Speakers may comment on any matter related to district business. The board will not permit in public session discussion involving individual district personnel or students. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving individual district personnel or students should present their comments and/or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. Persons making presentations at a board meeting will address remarks to the president and may direct questions or comments to board members or other district officials only upon the approval of the president. Board members and the superintendent shall have the privilege of asking questions of any person who addresses the board. Questions and comments from the public will be taken under consideration and/or referred to the superintendent for appropriate action. The board will refrain from commenting in public discussions involving any bargaining unit. The president shall be responsible for the orderly conduct of the meeting and shall rule on such matters as the time to be allowed for public discussion and the appropriateness of the subject being presented. The president shall have the right to discontinue any presentation which violates this policy. So in the entryway, you should have seen security, and I do believe they asked if you were interested in speaking. If you were, they did give you a card with a number just to keep things running efficiently. We did implement this, the board decided to implement this. So the board president, Ms. Kennedy, will call you up by number. Please stay seated until your number is called.
Okay, I know emotions are high, but we have to have respect. We're in a schoolhouse, and if we don't have respect, we have nothing. So, number one person, please come up.
What do I say again? My name is Amanda Borelli. I'm a middle school student, and I'm from the Connecticut Central School District. Last year, students and teachers were forced to wear face coverings. I had an embarrassing experience. I developed a bacterial infection on my chin because of wearing face masks every day. Then it became very itchy, and it turned into a rash, lastly an open sore. It got worse before it got better, and I was afraid to talk about it. I was embarrassed when people asked what's on my face, so I didn't know what to say and how to explain it. I was even ashamed. As soon as we stopped wearing masks during the summer, it got better and went away. Here are some other issues I encountered while trying to learn last year in school while wearing a mask. First issue, I could hear my teacher speaking, but with the mask on, I felt that they were mumbling. There were many times I couldn't understand a thing that my teachers were saying. I remember being in class and our teacher asked us if we understood our lesson, and the students responded, "No, I don't understand." They couldn't make out what she was saying. She got mad at us for not understanding her because she wasn't able to speak clearly. It happened many times. There was frustration between teachers and students. A second issue, when I get upset in class, I cry because I'm unable to use my words even though I am older now. It still happens to me. Last year, when I would get upset and emotional in school, I believe I got less help and support. So I did not get help when I needed it because my teachers didn't know. They thought I was okay when I was actually feeling sad and nervous. There are many kids who aren't able to speak up and tell how they're feeling. I am one of many kids, and I know they all need help. Students should not be wearing masks. Third issue. Wearing those face coverings for 6 hours per day in school meant that we couldn't take them off unless we were eating or if we were outside. Throughout the day, I would also feel lightheaded and also exhausted. I feel bad for those kids out there who have asthma, learning disabilities, and speech problems like me. What about those kids who wear glasses like my brother? His glasses would always get foggy and he would had a hard time seeing or even reading. So we should not be required to wear these masks in school or anywhere. Kids don't need masks. Right now, what we all need is to be happy to go back to school, see our friends and teachers' smiles. We also need our friends and neighbors in school working together to help us have a successful school year.
Thank you very much for sharing your feelings. Okay, number 2. Second speaker. Is there a number 2? Okay.
My name is Erin Sabella. I'm a mother of 4 and a resident of the Oakdale community for the past 25 years. My oldest daughter is set to attend the 3rd grade this September, pending the current school board's decision regarding mask mandates. Our job as parents is not only to ensure that our children's mental, emotional, and physical well-beings are met, but to ensure that their civil liberties, just like our own, are preserved. What makes this country so great is that we the people have the right to govern our own affairs, and with that includes our children. Your job as educators is to teach our children the fundamental knowledge that they will need in order to succeed in life, things such as vocational skills, study skills, and life skills. Our job as parents is to shape and guide them to be productive, compassionate, strong, and intelligent members of society. Your job is not to instill fear or anxiety or to lead them under false pretenses that if they wear a mask that they are protected from any virus, let alone any other harmful environmental elements on the outside of their mask. It is a proven fact that a coronavirus spore is 0.125 micros, and the size of one mesh square in a mask is 0.3 micros. 3 coronavirus spores will be able to pass through any mask. These masks have been proven to be ineffective and pose more of a health risk than a benefit when worn for a prolonged period of time. A group of parents in Gainesville, Florida, who were concerned about the potential harms for masks submitted 6 masks to a lab for analysis. The resulting report found that 5 masks were contaminated with bacteria, parasites, fungi, and 3 dangerous pathogenic and pneumonia-causing bacteria. Pathogens such as pneumonia, tuberculosis, meningitis, sepsis, diphtheria were among some. These masks are nothing more than a safety blanket to calm fears of individuals just like yourself. So the question I have to ask is, what do you really gain by forcing these children to wear masks? When are you guys all going to open your eyes and see all the evidence that's placed in front of you and what's going on here? You are being lied to and manipulated by your government and the medical community. Coronavirus poses no imminent threat to our children and has a survival rate of 99.8%. This is fear-mongering at its best, and this is just the start. What do you plan to impose on our children and take away from them next? I will not comply, and my children will not be masked. There is no studies done to show the effectiveness of social distancing as well. The amount of people coming across the border and the amount of Afghan refugees that have been flowed in, and you guys are worried about masking my children? I don't agree.
Third speaker. Who's our third speaker? Okay, our fourth speaker. Do we have a fifth speaker?
Good evening, President, board members, and everyone present. Please take these comments as respectfully made. We don't know each person, family situation, and many are clearly tired. We are all just tired from the last 17 months. We are a public school district and have to make the best decisions for the whole student population, not just the decisions we would make in our own homes. If the mask is what is required to get our children in the school buildings receiving services that they need to be delivered effectively in person, then we as parents need to put our personal choices, beliefs aside, and support the best educational experience possible for our children. When asked, my children said they, I did not, please do not interrupt me.
Respect.
When asked, my children said they prefer not to wear a mask, but stated clearly they prefer wearing a mask if it means they can attend school in person. We trust our school staff to keep our children safe during school hours. We need to trust our teachers and our principals to ensure our children get the respect they deserve and have adequate mask breaks, both in number and length of time. With that said, I appreciate the work of this board to support the use of the mask mandate to make sure our schools don't get quarantined or shut down due to positive cases. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's respect. Okay, number 6. Do we have a 6? If we don't have respect, we can't continue doing this.
That's okay.
So let's please respect each other.
That's okay. Okay. Good evening. We have successfully turned in a petition with many pages that contained over 1,000 signatures. This petition supports parental choice free from discrimination regarding masks and COVID vaccines. It does not support the banning of masks. The petition also requests district support in the fight for all students' medical freedom. I encourage you, our board, to use these signatures to help you fight against the government to prove that you have taxpayer support. Now, I want to tell you that a few weeks ago, I sent in a FOIL request to the district. And this asked for evidence that proved that all the measures taken during the previous school year to prevent the spread of COVID-19 had social, emotional, and academic benefits to the children. And they're worth taking again. You were also asked to provide evidence that proves the necessity to potentially mandate the vaccine for students. Evidence proving that the district grounds were a hot spot were also asked. On August 18th, I received a response, which was, the district does not maintain the records you seek in your request, therefore your request is denied. Without documentation that last year's measures were actually beneficial, you have no grounds to implement them again. Furthermore, I received an email response just this morning from Ms. Kemp. I asked her about the number of positive cases over the summer, and I learned you didn't even keep track of that. So what rules you're planning to put in effect, I don't know what you're doing it based on, because you have nothing to go on. In these folders, you have these folders here, we've compiled and condensed massive amounts of research. And with your permission, I would like to give these to each board member and our superintendent. The information contained within is peer-reviewed scientific information, data from New York State, the AAP, COVIDNet, the Nuremberg Code, and even a document signed and authored by infectious disease epidemiologists. You are also in here is your own policy, 9620, regarding child abuse, and policies 5420, which discuss student health and the fact that only sick children need to miss school. So to quarantine an entire class is going against your own policies. And now I have another folder over here, which is a folder that contains waivers of liability signed by a number of parents, and there should be more coming your way. The waiver states that we hereby relieve the district and all employees within from any liability should our children catch SARS-CoV-2 on district grounds during any district activity or on any district transportation, as long as they are able to attend school without a face covering of any type, masks or shields. And by the way, my children will not be wearing masks when they come to school, regardless. We are not... We're not going to stop fighting for our children. And if necessary, we will replace every single person that is sitting up there until we can be sure, that our children remain free and they remain solely our own. We do not co-parent with any one of you. Thank you.
Okay. Speaker 7. Let's calm down. Speaker 7. There are no additional speakers at this time. We're going to move on to the rest of our meeting. Where is the Speaker 7?
Number 7.
Okay. That's it.
Lee, can we find out, hold on a second. Lee, can we find out how many people took numbers? That might help.
39? Yeah, I said 39.
Can we ask security how many people took numbers so we know what we're looking at? 39? Okay. So then we could just keep.
Number 7.
Good evening, Connecticut Board of Education. My name is Isabella Garrido, and I'm a senior that attends Connecticut High School, along with my 3 other sisters who are in the district as well. I'm here to discuss the issues of mask use during the school year.
High school is a time when teens start to grow up and prepare for college and the adult world. But in order to accomplish these goals, we can't have these setbacks. During my sophomore year, the school sent us home for what I thought would be 2 weeks. I thought it was no big deal, we'll be back soon. Little did I know that we'd be back in school that fall, and I was starting my junior year. I had to deal with being hybrid, going on and off, and being in school and being at home, and I'm going to be honest, it was a true nightmare. I passed everything because I had the ability to retain the information, but not all do. Being on the computer all day was an easy distraction, along with not being able to see half my friends because they were on the other day. I had to sit in a cafeteria 6 feet away from a person with a mask on. I've never heard a lunchroom so quiet in my entire life. During these times, students were socially deprived because of not having to talk through a mask, a shield, and being 6 feet apart. It was just not worth it to them. So students decided to just stay on their phones. I don't think you realize the social and physical damage that has been caused during these changes. Many teens and kids that were once social and outgoing people and that were involved are now introverts and are unable to have a conversation because they were socially awkward. Kids are more focused with technology and less focused on person-to-person contact to start with, and now it's even worse. Me, along with many concerned parents and students, can easily agree that the use of masks, along with the vaccination, should not be a requirement. If a parent wants their child to wear a mask, then let them make that decision. But if a parent also doesn't want their child to wear a mask, they should also have that decision as well. My parents shouldn't have to co-parent with schools or the government. We all have the right to breathe and the right to choose what goes in our bodies. All this goes against the title U.S. 18 Code, subsection 241, Conspiracy Against Rights. I hope you're all listening because this violating the code is pretty strong. Up to a $10,000 fine fee, or 10 years in prison, or even both. All I can ask for is a great school year with homecoming, sports events, graduations, 5th grade circuses, clubs, musical, concerts, field trips, and senior events. I want everyone to have their activities back and be better than ever because this year should be the year we move on and have a fresh start from all the commotion that 2020 has caused. Look in the audience. Look at all those smiles. Do you really want to take that away? Thank you for your time.
Okay, number 8.
Good evening. My name is Kiara Kozan. I am a mother of 3 beautiful children, 2 who are attending John Pearl Elementary this fall. I have been labeled as an essential worker since the start of the pandemic. I work in a nursing home in Sayville. I was also pregnant throughout the height of it all. I can remember huffing and puffing down the hallway, short of breath, meeting with patients, counting the seconds until I could go back into my office and remove my mask. I wore my mask maybe 25% of the day. The rest of the day, I was in the office where I was allowed to remove it and breathe freely. When I think of the children behind masks, 7 to 10 hours per day, before and after care and sports included, breathing in their own carbon dioxide, essentially poisoning themselves and slowly suffocating, I'm outraged. According to the American Institute for Economic Research, face masks are only effective so long as they're dry. As soon as they become saturated, they pass droplets through the mask. When I look back at the last 2 school years, I'm ashamed that I gave in to this mainstream media panic and subjected my children to this psychological torture. During April to October of 2020, ER visits linked to mental problems, for example, anxiety for kids ages 5 to 11, increased 25% and 35% for kids ages 12 to 17. We were caught off guard in 2020. We listened to the panic of the mainstream media and muzzled our children. We isolated them from friends and family and instilled an unnatural fear in them, teaching them that the air they breathe, their classmates, their teachers, their desk, basically everything around them was a threat to their health. I will say 2 words, no more. We have forgotten what... We have forgotten what it is to be an American, a nation founded on God, who in the Bible states 365 times not to fear. That's one reminder for every day. We as parents, teachers, concerned citizens, and taxpayers have an obligation to our children to teach them to be fearless, independent individuals who can see the world as what it should be, a place to explore, learn, and grow in. Not to mention there is no substantial evidence nor any long-term studies that even suggest mask wearing is effective. There's only hard evidence against the wearing of masks. We as parents need to come together and unite. We've become so divided when we really are all here today for one reason. We want what is right for our children. Deep down inside, I know when you sent your children to school muzzled and submissive, your heart broke. We must listen to actual data and instincts as parents. This is wrong. I will say it once again, no more lies, no more fear, and no more masks. Thank you.
Number 9.
Ladies, please, there's a child at the podium. Let's let that person speak, please. We're going to hear everybody on both sides.
Good evening. My name is Jemray Kozan. I am a student of John Pearl Elementary School. Since kindergarten, I have been forced to wear a mask, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of not seeing my friends' and teachers' faces. I'm tired of struggling to breathe all day, and I'm tired of my teachers worrying if our masks are on, not when they should be teaching us, when they should be focused on teaching us. I just want to be able to go to school, see my friends and teachers' faces, and breathe. I'm seriously considering homeschooling with my mom if I have to put on that filthy, disgusting mask for another year. In conclusion, masks are ineffective, they trap germs in your face, and are distracting us from being kids again.
Speaker number 9. 10. Speaker 10. Speaker 11. All right, what number are you, sir? Are you 10?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am. My name is Gregory Toomey. I'm a parent in this district. Both of my kids attend Slocum Elementary. And can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Okay, all right. As a father of 2 children who attend Slocum Elementary, I am concerned with the potential mask requirements for another academic year. The mandatory mask wearing should not be the policy for the upcoming academic year. Our children have suffered enough. My children in particular. I've witnessed the harmful effects physically, emotionally, and mentally that masks have had. And any mask policy should be based on actual science, and it should be voluntary. It's freedom of choice. It's very simple. Parents should have the ability to choose whether they want their child to wear a mask or not. My primary obligation as a parent is to protect my children and do what is in their best interest, and that is exactly what I'm doing. Now, with the exception of the N95 masks are ineffective at stopping the transmission of any virus and give nothing more than a false sense of security. And when you factor in that most people are not properly trained in PPE, the effectiveness rating drops literally to 0. According to President Biden's own COVID advisor, masks, with the exception of N95, are useless, and especially cloth masks. Unfortunately, masking up has become a political sideshow rather than an effective policy based on science. In fact, the cost of mask wearing, like I had referenced before, physically, emotionally, mentally, outweigh any of the marginal benefits that they provide. More and more public health experts are now speaking out against this. When it comes to children, we are one of the few countries in the world that even require the mask for the kids. The WHO, UNICEF, and other organizations explicitly state that any child should not be wearing masks at all under the age of 12. So where is the science that justifies any of our kids wearing masks? If masks were beneficial and there were no downsides to masks, then why would anybody make this statement? Why would they issue this guidance? More importantly, why are most countries not requiring masks for children under the age of 12, including many European countries, which we have taken our cues from? Now, I like to cite this last one here, and it's just a study based from the British Medical Journal that compared cloth masks to medical masks. And the reason that I'd like to reference this one is because it was conducted in 2015. This is prior to science becoming tainted by politics. It was a randomized study on people who have constant contact with viruses and bacteria, far more than ordinary individuals have in the public. The N95 masks are the most effective masks, but are the least used mask, and they are rendered useless if you don't constantly change the filter. The effectiveness rating in an N95 is about 95%. Surgical masks are used often, and their effectiveness is only 54%. Cloth masks are the most widely used, especially with children, and their effectiveness is about 3% against any virus. Yes, that's only 3%, which sounds ridiculous. And this is the mask the CDC recommends that our children wear. I just don't get it.
Thank you. Number 11. Number 11.
Hi. Today, the governor of New York has said today that she will be imposing a statewide school mask mandate. We do not know when this mandate will actually go into effect, but we do know that it will be happening soon. With this in mind, Connecticut must be prepared to have a mask mandate in place and dealing with how school will be next year. With this warning, Connecticut must be smart and get the wheels rolling and put a mask mandate in place starting as soon as possible. I know the board members have said in the past that they would impose whatever guidelines the CDC and the state government had recommended. Currently, Suffolk County is a county that the CDC recommends all people, regardless of vaccination status, wear a mask indoors, which includes schools. There have been a lot of lies said tonight about how a mask works, and it's sad to hear that that is what the public consensus is. Masks work, and they are effective. So do as you had said.
Let him finish speaking.
So do as you had said in the past and listen to the CDC. Not only have mask mandates been recommended for months, it is now going to happen. Understanding that we are going to have a mask mandate, my question to the board is, what are the plans for when children get COVID and cannot go to school? This time spent over debate on a topic that has already been decided by many health leaders and our governor should have been spent figuring out what will happen when kids get sick. Across the country, parents have been documented sending their kids to school after seeing that they are sick. We as a district must make sure that does not happen and that there are plans for handling infected children. There have been many children in the South that do not have virtual school options during their quarantine, which has kids spending a whole week and a half with no instruction. We have the materials to keep school moving smoothly from home, and it would be unwise to get rid of all options just to ignore the problem. We need to stop making it seem that masks are not safe. We need to stop spreading that lie. That is almost as contagious as COVID itself. So please have a mask mandate starting as soon as possible and back up for when children must quarantine. Thank you.
I gotta say something. Can we just, everybody, can everybody just listen up for a minute? We're trying to be as respectful as we can, and we want to hear everybody. So even if you disagree with who's speaking, please let them finish the way we want you to be able to finish. That goes for everybody across the board, okay? Appreciate it.
We normally do this for 30 minutes. We're going to go on for an hour, and then we're going to go back to some business, and then we can come back to this again. So we're going to go to number 11 or 12? Number 12. We're doing this, normally it's 30-minute session for public comments, but we're going to extend it because of the evening.
Good evening. When we talk in mental health, we talk about the concept of the whole child. I am here because the one thing in all this back and forth about mask wearing that I don't hear a lot about is the social emotional toll it is taking on our youth. I have read all the data regarding mask efficiency, particle size, mask cleanliness, social distancing, etc. In education, the slogan is always, no child left behind. Unfortunately, there are a lot of children being left behind. One of them is my own daughter. Many children on the spectrum, children with speech deficits, verbal processing, struggle with everyday basic communication that many people take for granted. Effects, where impairments in face perception abilities are accompanied by severe impairments in holistic processing. Indeed, even in typical observers, experimental manipulations that disrupt holistic process, such as face aversion, can lead to a robust decrement in face perception abilities. In the conclusion, this current study provides evidence for quantitative and qualitative changes in the processing of masks in children. Changes in face recognition, performance, and alteration along the processing style of partially occulated faces could have a significant effect on children's social interactions with their peers and their ability to form important relationships with educators. Previous research in adults has already demonstrated the detrimental effect of reduced face perception abilities. I know my time is up, but I urge you to consider to contact the State Department of Health. I have not heard one mention of special needs children in all of this.
Thank you.
And I myself am seeing a regression.
Number 13.
Hi. I'm just wondering if I'm hearing correctly, is it even our or your decision as the board as to whether the kids wear masks or not? Is it you know, for us, for the state, for the governor, I'm confused as to, are we arguing for no reason? Is this not something that's our decision anyway?
Come on, respect, guys. Go ahead, Dr.
So earlier today, and this came from the New York State School Boards Association to boards of education and administrators across the state. And it reads, on her first day as governor, Kathy Hochul, announced that her priority number one is making sure students are safe in school, including, and I quote, immediately directing the Department of Health to institute universal masking for anyone entering our schools, launching a back-to-school COVID-19 testing program to make testing for students and staff widely available and convenient, and developing a method to require vaccinations for all school personnel with an option to test out weekly, at least for now. Hochul said she will announce a series of school-related policies later this week. That said, it's no secret that school board comment periods have been heated. It's clear that the governor's intent is to have the Department of Health handle health decisions so school boards can focus on educational issues. That's what came out at 4:08 today from the New York State School Boards Association.
Okay, so.
Go ahead.
So need we continue arguing, or do we get to?
Everyone has a right to say their piece, so everyone has a right to express how they feel.
Right.
And that we're giving everyone the opportunity.
Okay, I know that there are very pressing other issues as far as getting back to school and things, and
We'll
yes,
get it,
all
we'll
these
get it,
issues
we'll
have
get it
to
all
be-
done, but right now, everyone, the motions are
all these
high.
issues, right, have to be addressed, and especially, like Jill was just saying, the children that, there are always cases where children really have a lot of difficulty. But aside from that, if it's really not our choice, then my feeling is to get on with things, and take care of those that really are badly affected by it, of course. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Number 14? Number 14? Number 15? Oh, 14, okay.
Victor, it seems that our audio is not being carried on YouTube right now. Is that something that we can fix?
Check, check. Good? Sounds better now. I'm going to face them. I'm a little timid and shy, so I'm just trying to gain my courage. Just to start off, I'm not going to address them. I'm going to address the regular human
Excuse
beings.
me, sir?
Yes,
You're supposed to direct me,
Oh, no
the board
problem.
president, sorry.
Miss Kennedy. What I think everyone's misinterpreting is...
I'm here.
Oh, what
Hey, we gotta follow the rules. Besides, he's cute. He's cute.
What I think...
He's cute. Leave me alone.
I'm very capable. Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
What I think people like you are misinterpreting is, you wear your mask, you hide behind it, right? Yeah. She wanted me to talk to her. Okay. Good? Got it? Good? Okay. Everything in life is choice for people like this. You want to abort a baby? Yeah, give me something that can hear me. Give me something that can hear me. No, no, no. No, I'm a singer. I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, let him speak, but you need to stay by the mic.
Okay.
I want to hear
Okay,
you
yeah.
speak
Oh, yeah.
like everybody else,
Rachel,
but we
can you
need
hear
to
me?
do it the right way.
Can you hear me? Okay. At the end of the
Sir,
day,
please do it the right way. Please turn towards us and speak to us. I'm
at
asking
the end
you
of the
nice.
day, okay, fine, no problem. If a woman wants to abort a baby according to the masked people, no problem. Get rid of the baby, right? If my 7-year-old daughter goes into the girls' bathroom at the school and a boy decides he's a girl that day, they want that to be okay, correct? So if we're talking about choice, if everything is a choice, choice this, pro-choice, no life doesn't mean anything, it's my decision if my kid wears a mask, not yours. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. Everything is choice. Choice to have a baby, choice to kill a baby, choice when a baby's born in a hospital. They can determine now if it's male, female, or undecided. That's how sick people are. They're sick. So it doesn't matter. How do I explain to my 7-year-old that she's got to wear a mask or a boy wants to be a girl that day? That's the real problem. So anyone else who was going to talk, it doesn't matter. I took care of every angle. That's it. It's ridiculous. You take advantage of it when you want to. It's bullshit. That's all it is. That's it. Thank you so much.
Number 15. Number 15. 15. Number 16. Is there a 17?
My name is Mila Izzo, and to me, with masks in school, it's hard. It's hot, and I can't really hear anyone. We only get a mask break 3 times, including lunch, recess, and snack. With the shields in class, it's also hard to see because sometimes I see reflections with 2 shields, and it's hard to see. When one of my friends take off their masks, it's almost like I don't know them anymore. And I'm going in 4th grade, and I hope it's my choice to wear a mask. I hope we don't use shields anymore on our desk, and I hope that I will have a better year without a mask. Thank you.
Oh, it's my height. Perfect. Can you guys hear me okay? Good. Can you hear me better now? Good? All right. Hello, my name is Christina Marzacco, and I am a Connecticut graduate, and I'm now raising my family here. I'm a mom of 4. I have my oldest son entering middle school, daughter entering 4th, and my younger son entering pre-K. I am here today to speak on behalf of my children to be their voice. My older son has an IEP and is diagnosed with ADHD and anxiety. He has successfully made it from kindergarten until this past year in an inclusion setting. However, after this year, the committee has now recommended that my son be placed into a more restrictive environment due to poor progress he has made this year. My son is the kid who does not raise his hand, struggles to attend, and fights daily with social anxiety. Masks have hindered his growth. He struggled hearing his teacher's lessons, just like all of you today. I barely could hear. It sounded very muffled, so I understand. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. He is the kid who does not raise his hand, struggles to attend, and fights daily with social anxiety. Masks has hindered his growth. He has struggled hearing his teacher's lessons. And if he was called on, he would reply, but since he speaks very low, he often shut down when no one could hear him under his mask. Masks have increased his social anxiety. He is a child who needs to see his teachers' and classmates' emotions. And this year, he just hid behind his mask and fell beneath the cracks. Sorry, it's very emotional. For every time I had to leave work to pick him up, for any and every symptom that could possibly be COVID, I'm sorry, hold on, let me get it together. For every time I had to leave work to pick him up, for any and every symptom that could possibly be COVID, there was no virtual platform or plan in place for the elementary school level. My healthy son missed days, sometimes weeks, due to being sent home. He has regressed socially, emotionally, and educationally due to masks interfering in his ability to learn. He was learning in a prison-like setting, and a lack of plan in place when your child is not allowed back in school due to either A, declining to test your perfectly healthy kid, or B, finally giving in and then having to wait around to get results to send them in. My daughter Mila has always been bubbly and outgoing and passed school with the breeze. Masks have hindered her ability. She's now self-conscious.
hindered in her ability to understand what her teachers are saying, and has developed rashes on her ears from prolonged mask use. I am asking the committee to please consider not mandating masks and standing up for our children in making it a parent or guardian's choice to decide to mask or not mask. If masks work, it should not be an issue if I decide to not mask my own children. There is no scientific evidence to support that my child's Old Navy $2 mask is reducing COVID being transferred in any way. If this was pre-COVID and I sent my children in wearing masks during flu season out of fear for being sick, CPS would be called on me.
Thank you.
This is not a political move, but it is a very emotional one because it's my children, it's my job to protect and be their voice. These masks are damaging my children's social and emotional health, and their education is declining.
Thank you very much.
Masks are not one size fits all. I'm sorry, I was crying. Can I just finish? Masks are not one size fits all, and that should be okay. We, as the parents or guardians, should be the ones that decide what's best for our children, not the government.
Okay. Number 18? 19.
Dr. Chris Thomas, a critical care specialist at Baton Rouge General, recently said, "We have two pandemics. We have a pandemic of a Delta virus that's ravaging our community, and we have a pandemic of misinformation." The news, national news, local news, everything, has had story after story since schools across the country started opening for the 2021-2022 school year. Hillsborough County Public Schools in Tampa, Florida, from August 2nd through August 16th, 804 students and 437 staff test positive. Almost 6,000 people were in isolation or quarantine. At an emergency board meeting on August 18th, the board voted 5-2 to mandate masks in a state where the governor said you cannot have mask mandates. Pearl River County School District in Mississippi. They reverted to remote instruction 1 week after opening because positive cases doubled in 4 days. When they reopened, they're mandating masks. The Delta variant has an R0 of 6 to 9, which means that every one case, on average, will create 6 to 9 new cases. If you think of one kid or teacher or staff member in an unmasked school having COVID, that means 6 to 9 other people are at high risk of getting COVID, and children are testing positive. CDC data for August 14th shows 617 cases per 100,000 population were in age 17 and under. There were only 182 cases over 50 at age 50 and over. And Suffolk County had a positivity rate of 5.0% on August 22nd, with only 57.5% of Ronkonkoma zip code fully vaccinated, 58.8% of Bohemia, and 67.2% of Oakdale. Unmasked classrooms are a recipe for disaster. One last thought from a sports medicine and family medicine physician. We don't bring peanut butter to school because it could harm other people, and that's not an infringement on our freedom. But taking measures to prevent spreading COVID in our schools is. Thank you.
Number 20.
Good evening. My name is Elisa Friesem. I am a mother of 3, one in each of the schools in this district. I see it as a board that I'm not going to debate We could debate all night long on the risks of COVID, whether or not the masks actually work. The decision you have, and I'm going to stress, really, that the new governor, who is not elected, did not put a mandate out. She urged the Department of Health to issue guidance. The Department of Health in a review of the Department of Health and under the rules of the state of New York, which is governed by legislature, the Senate, and the Assembly, which maybe the governor may need to retake a course in law school as to how laws are implemented. She is not a king. She is a tyrant. She does not have the sole authority. Her authority rests with us, and so does yours. We are telling you, as a community, we would like the choice. Our country was founded on freedom. My parents came here from a communist country because of the promise of choice. Not being told what you can and cannot do for a living, what you should and should not wear. And I urge you to fight back against the tyranny of this new governor who only got her position because somebody else got caught with his pants down. I'm telling you now, I am giving you warning, and I will provide you with written notice that I, as the legal parent and guardian of the 3 of my children, that you do not have my consent to administer any medical treatment. Wearing and imposing the requirement of wearing a mask is medical treatment. You are not their guardian. You are not their parent, and I do not provide you with consent. That is direct violation. And if you were to mandate masks, you are removing my child's civil right to a free and equal education. And if I can remind you that even if the governor were to be so bold as to say that she's going to urge the Department of Health to provide the guidance, and that guidance now becomes mandate. Mandate is not law. You, as the board, have the governing power to decide. The way I see it, there's no pleasing anyone. You have a whole group of our community that says it should be masked. You have us that say you are not co-parenting with me, with us as parents. The only logical conclusion that you can make without causing a complete and utter chaos and losing funding because the people who don't want to wear masks will pull the children out and you will lose your funding. And if I may, I know my time is up, but if I may, because I was interrupted by the applause, which I really do appreciate, the only way is to allow the choice. If somebody wants to send their child in with a mask, let them. If the masks work, let them. You wear it, and there won't be a problem. There is a problem with this argument that everybody needs to be masks. If the masks work, then the person who wants to live in fear then can live in fear. But let the rest of us live our life. The last 18 months have not been living.
Thank you. Number 23. Number 23. Huh? No, 23. 22. Are we up to 22? Okay, 21. No, 21, 22. 23. 24. 25.
Hello, my name is Anna Zimmerman, and I'm a student in junior year of Connecticut High School. Before I begin, I would like to ask everyone in the audience to be respectful of mine and others' opinions and not heckle or jeer at me as they have done with previous speakers. This includes both sides of the party. Let us respect each other like the mature people we are. As a student of Connecticut High School, I believe masks are crucial for the safety of both the students and teachers, and to not mandate the use of masks would be a huge mistake which may cause the harm of others. I can see the side where people have concerns about the usage of masks, but as it holds it, we are in a global pandemic and these are dangerous times we are in. Of course, I do not share the experiences of everyone in this room, and I'm not invalidating those who have had issues with the mask. But this is not a political issue. This is not a religious issue. We are talking about public safety and the well-being of others. I do not believe masks are taking away our freedom, and I certainly do not believe they are risking our safety. I actually believe that without them, we will be left with even less freedom. If we become sick, we will be confined to a hospital bed for months on end. If we get sick, there's a very good chance we could die. My final note on this issue...
Please be respectful.
My final note on this issue is how can we claim to be true, free Americans if we are not willing to risk our supposed freedom to keep our other fellow Americans safe? Thank you.
24. 25. 26. 27.
Hi. I am a newly retired teacher from the Deer Park school system. After 32 years of teaching, I've noticed a huge difference in quality that I see in my students. By the way, I taught 30 classes, 700 kids, and I see a huge difference. Tonight we've seen a lot of eloquence being brought on both sides, but the thing is, the emotional well-being of our children really is not taken into consideration. The special needs kids, which I have a huge heart for, they're the ones being robbed. They can't identify facial recognition, nor can the first graders, the kindergartners, or the third graders. Now, that said, let's go into middle school, where I taught for 18 years. Kids need to see the faces. Kids need to see when their teacher's happy, when their teacher's angry, and they can't identify. I want to tell you how I identify. I am a non-mask wearing teacher. That's how I identify. I will also say that I have 3 shots. I'm also immune compromised and have recovered from cancer. So I take this very seriously. I take health, safety, and well-being very seriously. And I urge you, do not be swayed by our tyrannical new governor or anything you see on the fake news. Thank you.
Number 28. So we're going to go back to business. Did you want to speak?
28?
Okay, you're 28. You're the last speaker.
28, okay. All right, everybody hear me good? Mic's working? All right, cool. My name's Sean Farish. I'm speaking on behalf of the organization that I founded. It's called the Long Island Loud Majority. And I'm here to speak on behalf of the people that my organization represents, and those are the people without a voice in this community, whether it's through political persecution, or it's through means of cancel culture, or it's the fact that we're dealing with a group of children who cannot speak for themselves, who cannot fight for themselves, except on nights like tonight. And you heard what the children have said on both sides, but you have heard the testimony of the children in this community, and you have also heard the testimony of the parents in this community, and it is evidently clear which way this community sides, which way this community leans with regards to masking. So what I'm going to say, because I am not from this community.
Excuse me, sir. We've allowed, hold on, Sean, hold on.
Number 28, let
Sir,
him finish his
let
3
him
minutes
speak.
and stop. Audience, please.
We're allowing everybody to speak as per our policy.
Children.
As per our policy, anyone is allowed to speak, open meetings law.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Go ahead.
Despite the disrespect from the tolerance in the back of the room, I'm here to speak and I'm here to make the point that we know from the world's leading epidemiologists that the size of the virus can pass through any mask that you put on the face of a child. That science has not changed. That science has not evolved. And if the idea is to follow the science, perhaps we should follow that science. With all due respect to those who want to wear a mask or those who do not want to wear a mask, that is your choice. If you feel like you're at risk, vaccines are available. Masks are available. And when it comes to this governor taking over for a man who clearly abused his power, she has not learned her lesson. She's abusing her power now by dictating, by not consulting, by not gaining the consent of the governed. And what I urge you to do, the Board of Education of the Connecticut School District, is to be leaders. Be leaders. Blaze the trail. Be the pioneers. Be the leaders that the children of your community deserve. And be the leaders that are going to restore choice and freedom to the parents and the children of this district. You do not report to Albany. Despite what Albany wants to tell you, you do not report to Albany. You report to them. And they demand the choice that they rightfully deserve. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
We're going to move on now for our special ed presentation. Mrs. O'Hara, Director of Special Education.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm just going to do an overview of our special education programs within the district, a little bit about the differences between the 504 and the IEP, and just the programs that we currently have in our district. So there are two groups of students that we support under special education. The first group of students are students that have an individualized education program or an IEP. The law that governs them is through IDEA. The eligibility requirements of a student to get an IEP would be they would have to fall under one of the 13 disability categories. In Connecticut, the majority of the disability categories that we see are students with learning disabilities, followed by students with other health impairments, and then followed by students with autism. We do have students under all 13 disability categories, but those are the three ones that we see the most. A student with an IEP can receive services through the school district from the time that they're 3 years old to the time that they turn 21 or graduate from high school, whichever comes first. During a meeting, who makes a decision as to who qualifies for an IEP service? The team would include the parent, it would include the special educator, a general educator, a school psychologist, and representative from the district, someone who's familiar with the policies and the procedures and the programs that we have within the school district. The frequency of a review. So a parent, a staff member, whoever is concerned about the student, can call for a CSE meeting at any time during the school year, but the minimal amount that we would meet would be annually to go over the programs and the progress that the student made and to put a program forward for next school year. And students are also reevaluated or tested every 3 years. It's called their evaluation. Under a 504 plan, the law that governs the 504 plan is the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It protects individuals from discrimination based on disability. In order for a student to qualify for a 504, they have to have something that impacts a disability that impacts a major life functioning, such as it could be breathing, it could be speaking, it could be walking, it could be learning, it could be anything that affects a major life function. What does it offer? It offers accommodations, it offers modifications and related services. The difference between an accommodation and a modification that you would find on an IEP as well as a 504 plan is that an accommodation changes how a student learns. It doesn't change what the student is learning, it doesn't change the curriculum that the student is learning, but it changes how a student learns. So for example, you might see an accommodation such as a test read. You might see an accommodation as extended time, separate location, or copy of class notes. A modification changes what is taught to the student. So a modification might be something like modified homework. It might be reading assignments that are given on a student's independent grade level versus their independent reading level versus what their grade level. Or it might be something like fewer test questions. There are no age limits for a 504, and who's on the team? A parent and a staff member who is familiar with the student. And the frequency of reviewing it varies from district to district, but common practice and what we do in ConnectQuad is we review them every school year. So we'll review a student with a 504 equally annual, like an annual review meeting for a CSE meeting.
No. This is a report to, no, this is a report to the board. Excuse me. This is a report to the board. It's not for open discussion.
We are trying to allow everybody to speak. We've agreed as a board to allow an extra 30 minutes already, and we're going to give another 30 minutes. Please at least respect the speakers tonight. They've been waiting here, and we initially, the whole board, pushed you guys ahead of everybody, and is still allowing another 30 minutes. It's a lot more than we normally do. We're trying to do it for both sides. There's nobody taking sides here. But the problem in the audience seems that people don't understand that we have to respect everybody. It's a two-way street. We have to let everybody speak, and we have to follow policy. Okay? It's not being disrespectful, it's just we're trying to do the right thing. We're going to let you speak again, but we do have business we have to do.
The report is to the Board of Ed, so we know what's going on. That's okay.
And I have to be honest, I requested it like 2 meetings ago, because I really think this is important for the community to hear.
Okay, so if you're concerned about your child, who do you contact about your child and your concerns? Go ahead, Jesse. Sorry. Okay, so in the preschool, it would be your student's teacher, it would be the preschool psychologist, the building principal, this preschool CSE chairperson, Ms. Shemaya Villanova-Lowe, and myself. At the elementary level, it would again be your student's teacher, the building principal, school psychologist, the elementary coordinator, Ms. Jenna Harper, the elementary CSE chairperson, Ms. Shemaya Villanova-Lowe, and myself. At the middle school, if you're concerned, it's all of the same people, with the exception that we have a middle school coordinator. Her name is Ms. Danielle Black, a secondary CSE chairperson, Ms. Carrie O'Rourke, and myself. And at the high school, the difference would be that the high school coordinator is Ms. Donna Pamelini, secondary CSE chairperson, Ms. Carrie O'Rourke, and then myself. Okay, so when you're concerned about your child, there's a couple of things that happen. When you report to the people that we mentioned just before, they may suggest RTI for your child. And RTI is a response to intervention or a multi-tiered system of support. At Tier 1, All students get Tier 1 interventions, so it's when they're in their general ed classroom. They may be some baseline testing that's happening. The teacher may notice that there's some kind of, they may not be progressing like the other students, so they may put some interventions just specifically for that child or a group intervention within that general ed classroom. If the student is not making progress, then they would go to the next level, which would be a Tier 2 support. In each of the buildings, each building runs an IST team, which meets to talk about students that are having difficulty, whether they're academically or behavioral difficulties. At that point, they may suggest some targeted interventions, which would again may happen within the student's gen ed classroom with the classroom teacher, and they will take progress monitor that student to see if they are making any progress or if they're not making adequate progress. If the student's not making adequate progress at that point, there may be a Tier 3 intervention. Tier 3 interventions are more intense interventions. The student may be pulled out of their classroom. They may be seen by a special education teacher for part of the school day. They may be seen by a speech therapist, a counselor, a reading teacher, depending on what the child's needs are and where the area of concern is. If at that point, after progress monitoring, the child is still not making any progress, then it would be a referral to special education, and then we would do more comprehensive testing. Okay, so who can refer for a special education, or a student for special education? The parent or legal guardian, the child's teacher, a professional who's in the school who sees that the child is having some kind of difficulty, a student if they're over the age of 18 or an emancipated minor, and additional people could include a doctor, a judicial officer, or a public agency that's been appointed to make educational decisions for the child. Once the child is referred or a parent writes a written referral to my office indicating that they would like their student tested for special education services, then it is our job to make sure that those evaluations are done within a time frame. So we have 60 calendar days in order to make those evaluations happen and have your child tested for special education services. Those evaluations are going to include a psychological evaluation, they're going to include educational testing, a social history of your child from birth to where the child currently is now. At elementary level, we'll do a speech evaluation. We may recommend it at secondary level, but we usually always do it at the elementary level. And any other relevant testing that we might feel that the student needs. If the student is having social emotional problems, we may do some kind of an social emotional evaluation as well. Once the evaluations are done within that 60-day time period, we'll hold what we call a CSE meeting, and all the members of that CSE team, the parent, special ed teacher, gen ed teacher, psychologist is usually there, and another member of the district, as well as the parent, and sometimes the child, if it's appropriate for the child to be there. We'll talk about the evaluations and make a recommendation as to whether or not the child needs special education services. Once we do that, the committee will develop an IEP, an individualized education plan for the student. Once that's done, we have 30 days to present that to the board and then to have the program initiated for the student. Once we do an initial evaluation and the child is referred and is found eligible for special education services, we will hold an annual meeting within 1 year of that initial referral. So in Connecticut School District, we have a full continuum of services of special education programs. At the elementary level, we have consultant teacher services, which could be direct or indirect. We have resource room, where the child is in general education classes but may be taken out for a period of time to go over any kind of areas of need. It could be reading, it could be math. They would be serviced in that resource room. We have integrated co-teaching, which is 2 teachers in the classroom, gen ed teacher and a special education teacher. Those programs are only located in our Sycamore building and our Cherokee building. So if your home school is another school other than those, and the committee feels that your child does need ICT or integrated co-teaching services, then it would be recommended that your child would go to one of those buildings to receive that service. We have special class where the child is not with gen ed students for academics. We have several different classes at Boston Elementary School. The ratios are 6 students to 1 teacher and 1 teacher assistant. We have 8 students with 1 teacher and 1 teacher assistant, and then we have 12 students with 1 teacher and 1 teacher assistant, and those are all at Boston Elementary School. And then we have special class, again, is not with the general ed students for academics, and that's at Sycamore and Cherokee as well. And that student ratio is a 15:1, so 15 students to 1 teacher. We also have related services in all the buildings. So some students may not need a program, but they do need a related service such as speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, hearing, or vision services. At the secondary level, we have the full continuum in all of the middle schools and the high school. The difference is that our special classes, we have a 12-1-1 and we have a 15-1. We don't have the smaller ratios of the 6 and the 8 at the middle school and the high school. And we also have the full continuum of related services as well. Okay, so this is just a look at the history of our students with IEPs in the district for the past 3 school years, from 2019 to this current upcoming school year. So as you can see, in the high school, there are currently 296 students with IEPs. In Oakdale Bohemia Middle School, there's 114 students. At Ronkonkoma, there's 120. In Cherokee, 128. Sycamore, 101. In Boston, there's 40. Duffield, 24. Idlehour, 14. John Pearl, 14. And Slocum, 13. We do have students that we send out of district because we don't have programs that are appropriate for what their needs are. So we do send them to schools like BOCES. We currently have 57 students that are attending a BOCES program. We have 14 students in private programs, and those programs would be things like DDI. It's the only one I can think of off the top of my head right now. We do have 4 students that are currently in a residential program, and we have 4 students that are homeschooled. These numbers are changing from any time we can have students that are referred for special education and become special education students. We have students that leave the district that were special ed students, and we have students that come in from other districts, especially during this time of year. We have a lot of students that move into the district that need special education services. So these numbers are always constantly changing. Where we saw an increase over the last couple of years really is with the students that needed a 504 plan. So we currently have 87 students in the high school with a 504. We have 53 at Oakdale Bohemia Middle School. We have 44 at Ronkonkoma Middle School, 13 at Cherokee, 12 at Sycamore, 15 at Boston, 13 at Duffield, 10 at Idlehour, 9 at John Pearl, and 9 at Slocum. In addition, we have a SEPTA, and SEPTA is a special education PTA program. It represents families from the Connecticut School District that have students with special needs. It could be students that are getting related service only. It could be students that have a 504 plan. It could be students that have an IEP. We meet monthly. And we go over many different topics, such as what to expect at your annual review process, agencies such as OPWDD, transitions, behavioral challenges, how to get your child services. We have a guardianship attorney come and do a presentation about guardianship, and any presentation that the group may feel that they need, they would like to hear, or they have a need. So I'd like to introduce our current members of our SEPTA board. Ms. Nicole Hanisch is our president. Michelle Ventero Carreno is our vice president. Laura Ortiz is our secretary. And Jill Connors is our past president and now treasurer. So we encourage any parent who has a child that has a disability, a 504, you want any information about special services, please, you can go to the website and you can click under special education, and their link is right there. It will bring you right to the SEPTA page. And lastly, I would like to just read a poem, Welcome to Holland by Emily Kingsley. Emily Kingsley was a parent of a special needs child, and she was asked what it was like to raise a special needs child. And she said, when you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and you make wonderful plans. The Colosseum, the Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives and you pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands and the stewardess comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." Holland, you say? What do you mean, Holland? I signed up for Italy. I'm supposed to be in Italy. All my life, I've dreamed of going to Italy. But there's a change in the flight plan, and they've landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine, and disease. It's just a different place. You must go out and buy new guidebooks, and you must learn a whole new language, and you will meet a whole new group of people who you would have never met. It's just a different place. It's a slower pace than Italy, less flashy than Italy, but after you've been there for a while and you catch your breath and you look around and you begin to notice that Holland has windmills, that Holland has tulips, that Holland even has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy, and they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they've had there, and for the rest of your life you will say, yes, that's where I'm supposed to go, but that's what I had planned. And the pain of what will never, ever, ever go away because of the loss of a dream is a very significant loss. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special and very loving things about Holland. And in conclusion, I would like to just say that no matter how short or long your trip may be to Holland, we want you and your child to have a positive experience with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Hara. Does the board have any questions?
Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming because I myself know that it's not easy when you're going through the special education process, and there's a lot of questions, and you've helped me, and I know you've helped so many other people, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to presentation of pandemic reopening plan. Mr. Middleman, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, and Mr. Hauser, Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations, and Mrs. Gail Santo, Director of Pupil Personnel Services, will present the operational plan for the fall.
Thank you. I'm actually going to start though.
Okay.
So on the first slide, since March 2020, the world has been operating under pandemic restrictions to proactively decrease the spread of COVID-19. I'm extremely proud of Connecticut School District and the great success that we had in the 2020-2021 school year, keeping our kids, our faculty, and our staff safe. As we move into this second year, we continue to be committed to learning from our successes and our failures, bringing all students back in person, and keeping our faculty, students, staff, and community safe and healthy while in our buildings. Next slide. To this end, guidelines from the CDC, American Academy of Pediatrics, and the Suffolk County Department of Health Services have been incorporated into our daily operations as we look forward to welcoming our community back into our schools in September 2021. However, as we all know, with this pandemic, these operational standards are subject to change dependent on the concentration of community spread and/or any updated guidance and mandates from regulatory agencies in this ever-evolving public health situation. Mr. Middleman?
Thank you. The district is seeking to reopen the 21-22 school year with full, robust program for all of our students, including the return of our music and fine arts program in its entirety, our math specialists, reading specialist, and AIS program, as well as our computer science and engineering program at the elementary schools. We look to open all clubs and extracurricular activities district-wide. The following guidelines will shape our September opening. School schedules. All schools will return to their pre-2020 schedules. All busing routes will be restored. We will not be offering fully remote instruction. Any child who is medically fragile, those students can follow the 504 process and work with their medical doctor and the district to see if there's an alternative instruction that's a possibility for them. For physical distancing, we'll maintain at least 3 feet of physical distance for our students in their classrooms, physical education classes, and music instruction. Students that are engaged in singing or playing a wind instrument will be distanced at least 6 feet. There'll be 6 feet of distance, which is recommended between students and teachers and staff, and between teachers and staff who are not fully vaccinated. All teachers have the ability to utilize the stand-up barriers provided for them during the 2022-21 school year if desired. For athletics, all interscholastic sports will be permitted. Indoor spectators will be permitted. Masks will be required. Physical distancing while in the stands should be maintained between individuals who do not reside in the same household. Mr. Hauser.
Good evening. As the new Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations, I will be overseeing transportation, food service, as well as security. As part of our operational plan, which Dr. Adams mentioned is a fluid document, subject to change at any time, I just want to focus on transportation at the moment. So as we are considered public transportation, each of our school buses, the Center for Disease Control being a regulatory agency, and they have ordered that all passengers and drivers must wear a mask on school buses, including buses operated by public and private school systems, regardless of vaccination status. Accordingly, no student will be permitted on our buses without a face covering, which will need to be worn the entire time they are on the bus. Increased ventilation, we will actually increase ventilation on the school buses by keeping the windows and ceiling vents open as much as possible. In terms of food service and our school meals, I believe there's going to be a small change here in terms of allowing students at the elementary level and secondary level to actually go to the cafeterias. So school lunches continue to be free for all students at this time. The school district is part of the federal school lunch program, which is operated by the state's child nutrition program. The food service lines at the cafeterias will be open for students to select their food prior to heading to the cafeteria to eat. Accordingly, the meal planner that most of you might be familiar with will no longer be used since we are no longer prepackaging meals for students. Students will be seated at least 3 feet away from each other while eating. In certain buildings where there is not enough room to permit 3 feet of physical distance or separation, some classes will eat in their classrooms, but will be rotated into the cafeteria on a weekly schedule. For our universal pre-kindergarten program, which will be operating in 4 of the elementary schools, those students will be eating in the classrooms and will be provided with a lunch option. I believe, Ms. Santo, you're up next.
I am. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. For prevention, we will continue to follow the procedures and mandates of the Department of Health and make available district-wide posters to stress healthy habits and safety to ensure that we are providing instruction in a safe environment for all students and faculty and staff. We will emphasize healthy hand washing, respiratory etiquette, physical distancing, and most importantly, after contact tracing, we will ensure that anyone who is symptomatic is removed from any from the general population until which time they are picked up. As far as screening testing, last year you may remember that it was mandated that we assess the students. We asked that you fill out an attestation, and the staff district-wide also filled out an attestation. And therein, the attestation was declaring whether or not you were presenting with symptoms or you had been exposed to COVID previously in the last 48 hours, or you had traveled, etc. Since that did not produce any identified cases, it is not going to be practiced this year. Additionally, we will not be screening using the thermal screeners for all students and staff who enter the building, again, because there were no cases indicated through that practice. So our district at this time is not screening testing. Now, the issues of masks, ladies and gentlemen, as the gentleman and the superintendent had disclosed or revealed, because of the new statement from our new governor, Governor Hochul, she had said that she is going to take fervent effort, to tell the local Department of Health or New York State Department of Health to implement universal masking for both students and staff.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Finish.
And at this juncture, it hasn't been clarified, but it is going to be, at this point, regardless of vaccination status, for either students or staff, masks are required. As they are required on transportation, they will be required when entering the building. We expect later this week that there will be additional school-related.
Excuse me, she's finishing.
Okay, excuse me, so let me clarify. They did say entering, but it is implied that masks will be worn the day while on school premises. So at this juncture from our new governor, and this development was only this afternoon, 3 or 4 p.m. I believe, is that her direction to the New York State Department of Health, which then speaks to the local Department of Health, which dictates what our guidelines are, that they're going to she's going to enforce implementing universal masking for students and staff. Okay.
They're waiting for a response from
Exactly.
They're waiting for a response, that's all this is. She's just repeating what we were told.
Yes.
They're gonna make the final decision, we're not.
Ladies and gentlemen, calm down.
If you don't
calm down, or I'm gonna motion to end the meeting.
I'm gonna count to 3. We're gonna have some respect here.
Let's relax.
We're not screaming at you, we don't expect you to scream at us.
More importantly,
we're reporting out.
Lee.
Okay, you know what? I think we need a 5. I'm not gonna do.
Can I have a motion to recess the meeting?
For a 5-minute break. Lee, motion, 5-minute break.
Motion.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Will you guys? You don't want
Listen.
The meeting is reconvened. Everyone, please take their seats. Otherwise, Mrs. Santo, you want to finish your presentation, please?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Kennedy and Dr. Adams, allow me to clarify, please, regarding masks. I made mention that Governor Hochul did make a statement today that she is immediately directing the New York State Department of Health to institute universal masking for anyone entering a school building. However, to clarify, at this point, the district or the Board of Education is making a definitive decision. We are waiting for direction from the new governor, Governor Hochul, and then the Board of Education and Dr. Adams will reconvene and reevaluate before the beginning of school. Now let's talk about contact tracing. And Ms. Jessie, if we can speak to positive cases first, thank you. As we had done all last year, the school district is required to report to the Suffolk County Department of Health of all positive cases. Similarly, we are then required to either quarantine or isolate the quarantine persons that were exposed and isolate those persons that are deemed positive COVID. All individuals who test positive for COVID must remain in isolation for 10 days from the date of symptom onset or test date if asymptomatic. And back to quarantine, Jessie, thank you. Contact tracing and quarantine, close contacts defined as under 6 feet for a cumulative total of 15 minutes or more in a 24-hour period, who are unvaccinated or have not recovered from a COVID infection within the prior 90 days will be quarantined for 10 days. The only exception to this rule is for students. The exception for K through 12 indoor classroom settings, the close contact definition excludes students who are within 3 to 6 feet of an infected student if and when both students correctly and consistently wear well-fitting masks the entire time. Fully vaccinated persons who have come into close contact should be tested 3 to 5 days after exposure and may attend school in person provided they receive a negative test. Mr. Middleman?
So one of the changes we did make from last year is that when students are quarantined, they will receive their education live streamed through Google Meet. For elementary students in quarantine, they will live stream for their math and literacy block, but for no specials. However, if an entire class is quarantined, the teacher will live stream the entire, all 4 content areas as well as specials. That schedule of live streaming will be communicated to parents prior to that day. Secondary students in quarantine will again have live stream instruction for all of their course sections by their class teacher. Ms. Santo?
Okay, thank you. We will also take fervent steps to encourage and reinforce that all persons, students, and staff, teachers alike, district-wide, should remain home, stay home when they are sick or present with symptoms. Students, teachers, and staff who have symptoms of infectious illnesses should stay home and refer to their healthcare provider for testing and care, regardless of vaccination status. Further, staying home when sick is essential to keeping COVID-19 infections out of schools and prevent spread to others. Mr. Allen.
Thank you to the Board of Education for giving me an opportunity to speak on how the maintenance and custodial teams will be approaching the upcoming school year. So as a group, we will continue to use the diversity family of cleaners. Those are eco-friendly cleaners. They are highly effective in eliminating viruses, but yet have a low environmental impact. We will continue to provide hand sanitizer and wipes in each and every instructional space, so they're available for use. As we would during typical flu seasons, we will continue wiping down those high-touch surface areas, which will include the doorknobs, handrails, bathrooms, cafeterias throughout the day. We will also, at the end of the day, in those same high-traffic areas, be using the electrostatic misters, but we will not need to use them continuously in the classrooms as been in previous years. Previous year, I should say, excuse me. And the other element that we will be doing is we'll be able to get into the classrooms a little bit quicker if we've had a confirmed case. The custodial staff will not need to close it for 24 hours. We will be able to get in there promptly and get that space back into use so that we're not hindering the already crowded buildings and the spacing that we're doing throughout. The next slide, I believe, is ventilation. In respect to ventilation, the Board of Education has made a significant commitment to replacing dated mechanical equipment. If you've noticed, you'll see a lot of cranes throughout the district. If you haven't, you'll still see plenty more over the next week. They're replacing dated equipment that we've had difficulty maintaining, or those that have not been able to support the higher filtration that we are now moving forward with. So that work will be in place prior to the students arriving. Other elements that we will be doing relating to the ventilation is we will continue to use the higher quality filters in all of the spaces. And we will also be having a company come in and professionally clean all the mechanical equipment throughout the district. I'd like to say that that's going to be complete by the first day of school, but unfortunately that's a project that's going to carry through the first few weeks of the school year. But know that in the coming weeks, we're going to have every single piece of mechanical equipment completely cleaned and disinfected. So those are the two elements I believe I have for myself.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. I'll take over for the final part of the reopening plan, which deals with visitors. And we certainly want to be sensitive to parents and family members who want to visit the schools of their respective children. But when we speak about visitors, mainly we're going to speak really about two groups, non-essential visitors as well as community groups. So the first slide that's up right now really is going to deal with non-essential visitors, which we're going to try to limit volunteers and activities, including external groups or organizations, particularly in areas where there is a moderate to high COVID-19 community transmission. In light of this recommendation, our district will be evaluating events to determine if we can maintain the proper 6-foot social distancing space between adults, visitors, to determine the viability of an event. Where there are events that we can have proper safe social distancing, or where events that we cannot maintain that will be held virtually rather than in person. For example, one of those events might be back to school night. Visitors during the school day will be permitted in the buildings by appointment only, and will be masked, at the current moment, will be masked while on school grounds. The last part, and this is our last slide, community groups will be able to continue to utilize the grounds upon receiving the proper permits and authorization from the school district to do so. The internal use of facilities will be evaluated for the ability to maintain safety for the participants and for the operation of the school after such events. All community organizations who apply for permits must submit and monitor a safety plan in line with the district's safety plan, which includes physical distancing and masking. And that is the final slide. Dr. Adams, I think I'll just turn it over to you if you don't mind.
Thank you. That's a presentation of our operational plan for the 2021-22 school year.
Okay, let's move on to Board of Ed topics. ASL program, I don't know who brought that up.
Me.
Okay, Jackie, go ahead.
That is the sign language program that I wanted to see do more, grow more across the district, possibly look into bringing it to as more than just an after-school program. And if we can even start at the young ages, I know that this year, very few, I think maybe 2 or 3 of the elementary schools at their graduation, they did a sign language with, I believe, Dr. Adams can answer this. I think it was with the music person. Was it with the music teacher or?
It actually depends on the building. One of the buildings, the principal's clerical actually taught the kids the sign language song.
It was excellent. It was excellent to watch. It was so nice to see that they caught on so fast. I think it would be something beneficial for them to have as well. So that was one thing. The other thing I brought on here was the arts and music, but you guys already answered it for me. I wanted to make sure that we're going back to normalcy. If we have normalcy in sports, there should be normalcy for other children that are not sports athletes and are more into arts, music, and into all the clubs. It's nice to get kids involved. We need a little bit more normalcy with that stuff. And I believe that I brought up, we have the attendance officer on there, and I would like to motion, I believe this is the time now, Lee, for me to motion for, I would prefer to bring the AP position back from a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, it was said that it was abolished. I believe it's a position that we need in the high school. I do not think I do not think that one person should have more than one grade level. I think it would be beneficial if we're going to have an attendance officer to just have an AP position that also can do so much more with our children, and also it can be the attendance officer as well.
That sounds good. I need a motion.
So, but let's just make sure that Jackie, you want a motion to reinstate an assistant principal position that was abolished at the high school?
Affirmative, yes.
Okay.
Oh, motion and second?
I'll motion.
Second, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the Director of Guidance. Need a motion and a second. It's already in the budget.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion so carried. And move on to the Board of Ed letter to the town of Islip. Call for a motion.
Motion.
Second. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, Board of Ed cover letter for residential submitted petition. Call for a motion.
Motion.
Second.
I would like to discuss.
What's the discussion?
Is this the one that we were going to take verbiage out or change verbiage?
No verbiage change.
Okay, then I'm a yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Okay, move on.
Wait a minute, there's a name removed from this. I just want to.
I said nay.
Okay, but your name is removed from the letter. Originally it was on there.
Correct. I asked to have it removed.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you, Mylan. Let's move on to I, recommended action personnel matters. As amended?
Oh, no, we're going to have the second public comment now.
It's at the end.
Not yet.
At the end. We have to do business.
Instruction and non-instructional. Call for a motion and second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented.
As amended.
As amended?
As amended.
Okay.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion so carried. Recommended actions, financial matters. Call for a motion and a second to approve item 2.
Motion.
Wait, I have a question on one of these. Hold on. It's the one that's for the speaker that's coming in.
It's on the table.
A second.
Second.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, we have to, did we?
Yes.
All in favor?
Wait. What are we all in favor for?
The financial.
I thought we did that already.
No, Jackie had a question.
Okay. All in favor, yes.
Okay.
Give me a vote. Can we just
call the all in favor again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, motion so carried. Now we're going to the consent agenda, call for a motion, a second. I call for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, items 2 through 19. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mylan.
For number 10, I'd like a breakdown of how that money is being spent. So it's supplies, and then it supplies again, so it's roughly $245,000, all stated for supplies. Can you be more specific what supplies are? That's almost $245,000.
Do you want me to do that now, or do you want me to send that to the board?
Let's be transparent, I'd like to know now.
Okay, I just need a minute to pull up the spreadsheets.
Okay, so while you're working on that, I had another question.
This is Gear 1 and ESSER 1 funds. My assumption, and I don't have the paperwork in front of me, is that this was PPE that was supplied for the last school year?
No, this is an amendment to the CARES Act.
Oh, we're amending it, okay.
Yes, so there's an amendment for the purchase of technology equipment to support both our instructional staff and our teachers, and our students, I apologize.
For this coming year.
That's correct. And Mr. Hauser can kind of explain why it's coming up for, on the board to vote on based on the type of funds that it is. Different from the CRRSA and the ARP funds, which didn't need to be board adopted into the budget.
Okay, because this is saying educational expenditures, which is a lot different from like PPE or anything else that we've had to pay for before. So I just like to know what
Linda.
specifically is this paying for?
Mylan, can you use your mic?
I would like to know how much $245,000 in supplies is, what is that calculated to, as far as a breakdown of exactly what that is? We do know it's going for educational expenditures. What exactly is that? So we know it's
So-
not PPE, we know it's not cleaning supplies.
Okay, so a decision was made to reallocate those resources to support the devices that we have for our students. So we're looking for the purchase of charging lockers at our secondary schools so that our students would have an opportunity to charge their devices during the school day, as well as charging stations at the elementary school.
Excuse me? Continue, Mr. Miller.
As well as carts for our elementary students, their devices, for the carts that we needed to purchase for our elementary students, for their devices. In addition to additional PCs and monitors that were needed for the additional classrooms and sections that we had, where we had to purchase additional smartboards for.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All in favor?
Let me ask Lee, let me just ask Dean a question. Is this something that is necessary? Is this money from a grant? Is this something, because it's saying, or is this something that we can look and see before we make a vote on it, if the money is allocated here instead of somewhere else?
So this is a federal grant that we received last year. It's the first part of the federal grant money that was received by schools. That was the CARES Act. The second was the CRRSA, and then the third is the ARP.
Okay, so this is the money that we have to spend a certain way as well.
Right, so there's guidelines as far as what these dollars can be spent for students, and, we're following those guidelines.
Perfect, thank you.
I also have one last question. It is regarding
All right, so I have a question regarding number 16. It's $4,230 for the superintendent. I believe you're having your meeting with your staff that day. It's universal throughout the buildings. If we invested so much money in technology, why are we paying an outside group $4,230 for more technology to stream this superintendent hearing when we've had spent, over $1 million, close to, on technology already? So why are we still hiring an outside source to do some streaming when we could be doing this in-house?
Because we don't have the current technology in order to do it the way that it needs to be done for our superintendent's conference day. So we are bringing in the vendor that live streamed our graduation ceremonies to help support us, because we are obviously cannot have all of our staff in one location at one time. So this gives us the ability to have our presenters present and have that information live streamed to our staff in their home schools. Our goal is to have that equipment eventually so that we'll be able to do that process ourselves.
So then how are you Zooming with kids and we're able to have a teacher to do an in class and those that are home to be participants that way, but we're going to spend $4,230 and we're doing it something different when we were doing something different with our kids? I just don't understand what the difference is. We did it with our kids who were home on quarantine, were home for other reasons. We had children that were in class. We had a camera that was pointed at the board so that the kids were on both sides, home and in class, was able to participate. Why are we spending $4,230 for this? What is the difference? Isn't it the same ideology, the same concept what you're trying to approve?
I think conceptually it's probably the same in theory what we're trying to do. The difference is the amount of areas that we're trying to make sure have coverage, as well as providing the equipment and sound equipment that is needed in order for the speakers to be, clearly heard and done. We don't have the camera and the technology in order to be able to live stream it the way we are looking to live stream it.
But you're live streaming this meeting.
Correct.
And do we pay an outside source to do that? I see two very capable men there. They're doing it for us right now.
Absolutely. This decision was made in consultation with our administrative staff as well as our technology staff.
Okay. No more questions? No. I'm pulling 16 for a separate vote. Aye.
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 Nay. Motion.
Second.
No. I'm a no.
Aye.
I'm a yes.
Aye.
We're at number 29. 30.
Okay, so I know you're waiting to hear from the governor, but I think you should actually listen to us and to further, I'm sorry?
No, I know, but I thought, I don't know what the policy is. I thought the policy was if somebody wanted to speak after, at the second piece, they're allowed. I'm asking.
The policy said one time, but have you spoken already?
All right, somebody else want to tell them that we're going to sue them? Anybody else? I mean,
Devin.
Can I speak again?
Okay.
Can I speak again? I can't hear you.
All right, can we please all right, can we please stop on both sides? Or I will ask security to remove people if they're not gonna, we gotta show respect. That goes for all sides. Okay, I'm motioning to let her speak for 3 minutes, because at this point, if there's no, we don't even have numbers anymore, do we?
Yes, we do.
Oh, she's number 30? If she's number 30, then she can speak. I'm motioning for yes. She's
There are other
30.
people that have not spoken yet. Let them speak first, and then she can come back at the end.
But okay, she's not.
Thank you.
Number 30.
Not even to read it, just tell them.
I know, but this isn't the.
Waiver of liability, they are liable.
But this isn't how you act.
Wearing a mask.
This isn't how you act. They took a number and they're speaking. If you want to speak,
All right,
number 30 speaking, number 30.
Okay, I'm gonna call a recess, another recess. No more.
I'm taking the number 30 if that's allowed.
Disrespectful.
We have a 30, let her speak. We have a 30, let her speak.
Schoolhouse. And learn that this is a schoolhouse.
I need her to guide me in this because this is our.
Go ahead.
This is a waiver of liability for you. Our students should be allowed to come in with or without masks. It is our choice. That is what we are asking, as you all have heard this entire night. That is all we want, a choice. This is our waiver. We will, if need be, if anything happens to our children because of masking, we will take it further to court. And we are putting you on notice as of now.
$31, 32, 33,
'Good evening. I want to thank you guys. I know this has been a long night. Thank you for giving us extra time here, and thank you for respectfully managing all the emotions that are going on in this room. Something I think we need to point out here is that many of us in this room are Connecticut graduates, as you are there. We stayed here because this is our home. We have faith that you would do the right thing. You would protect our children, not only medically, but emotionally as well. The studies show that without a mask on, 89% of the time, a child can discern the emotion on a face. When those masks go on, that drops to 59%. The most affected emotions are sadness and disgust. I'm going to leave you with one thing that I ask you to think about tonight. How many times have we lost the opportunity to address a child's sadness over the last 17 months? How many times have we missed the opportunity to save a child who could be struggling, whether it be in school or something happening at home, because we can't see their face and we can't see how they feel and they can't vocalize it? Do what's right for our kids. Make sure they're all protected. Make sure you can see their faces. Make sure you can see them smiling and they can see you smiling back at them. That's all I ask.
33, 34, 35,
'Do I start? Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Olivia Keesian from Sycamore, graduating 5th grade, and I am here to talk about wearing masks. I think masks should be optional. Me and some of my friends have been breaking out on our faces from them, and also I have been struggling to breathe. I also have a disability, and it's hard to understand what the teachers are saying. I think that since it's our bodies, it should be our choice if we should wear masks or not. And about the American flag, why can't we get a regular flag and not a smart board, and not on a smart board?
You are correct, sweetheart. You are correct.
I'm not done.
That's the last time you'll see an American flag on the smart board. An American flag should have been here tonight.
The pictures don't have even the amount of stars and stripes that we need to display for all to see. Let's show respect to our heroes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. $36, $37, $38, $37, okay.
Hi, I am a Connecticut alumni. I have a child in Cherokee. I had emailed Dr. Adams, Ms. Santos, and I believe the district clerk asking for a copy of the proposed reopening plan. I got no response. Not a "we can't give it to you," an away message, got nothing. But now that I've had a chance to see the reopening proposal and hearing from the community members, especially these students, I am asking the board, have they given thought how they're going to monitor the medical integrity of these masks? They are inflicting some damage from acne, breathing issues, anxiety, moisture from allergies. How are we monitoring that? These are not frontline healthcare workers, these are children. My child's mask was coming home saturated. I sent him with extra masks last year. He was in 2nd grade. He wasn't changing it. He wasn't asking for help. He just sat there in it. What are we doing about that? Has that been given thought? Thank you.
$38, $39.
Hi, everyone. As you can tell that our community in a whole wants to have choice. We believe that both sides of the fence need choice. We're going to have to come up with a solution that everybody can have their way. Because obviously the majority of us want to unmask our children. Like they said, the masks do not prevent you from catching it, spreading it, anything. It's all a scare tactic on our children. My son has suffered with anxiety this year. I've taken him to a pulmonologist because he can't breathe. He's crying to me. This is so heartbreaking on our children. The governor, you guys are the ones that are going to be the leaders for us. We don't have to be like everybody else and fall in line. The governor, she's just recommending, okay? But it's up to us as a whole, for our community, for our children, to make sure that our children are okay. A lot of the kids suffered this year. I'm talking every age, every grade. My son was a senior of 2021. They were lucky, actually, because they got to have a prom and a couple of things that the year prior did not. I just want you guys to think long and hard about our kids, about the community, whether we do a voting system, like we're going to vote, and have the community come in to a voting booth and write yes or no for mask or unmasked, and then I think we should go with the majority or break it up somehow, because we're not all going to agree for the masking, for the unmasking or masking of the children, okay? And I also believe that you guys, the kids will look up to you as being the leaders to show that we're not going to fall in line like everybody else. We're here, you know, like this guy over here keeps saying, we're the laughing stock of, this is like a show, we're clowns. Okay. Clowns do wear masks. So I don't know, if he's saying we're the laughing stock, why don't we be the ones that go the other direction and show them that we're leaders, that we're you know, gonna carve out our own path like we want our children to do. We don't want everybody to be the same. We want everybody to be who they are. These kids don't know who they are, don't know who their friends are. They don't know, like they said, if they're smiling, if they're happy. The teachers, it's very frustrating on you, especially if you have, the kid said the teachers were very not nice this year. But it's very frustrating for all, okay? For the teachers doing at home and in school and then sending stuff home to children.
Thank you very much.
I just want everybody to, it is choice. You have choice for everything else in the world. This is America. We're all about freedom. And I think we should have our amendment rights, constitutional rights.
Number 40? 40? 41? Oh, 40, okay.
Real fast, I just want to piggyback off what the lady said over here. You guys are leaders, okay? You're the board. You're our leaders. As a leader, you need to make decisions that are good for the whole, whether that's to give us a choice, what we want to do. A leader should also never push something that they are not willing to do themselves. So what I want to ask you, from you, ma'am, to you, and all the security guards here, are you willing, on the first day of school, to forcefully remove my daughter from her first day of kindergarten because she's not wearing a mask, because that's my choice? Are you willing to do that? Because if the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't push for that. Right? My choice, my child, not you. You are not putting the roof over her head or the food on that table. My choice.
Okay, 41? 42?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Charles White. I'm a Connecticut graduate, 89. I'm a former Marine, Sergeant of Marines. I'm a union member, okay? And I'm a COVID survivor, okay? Now, I have 2 children that are still currently in the district. One just went through 2nd grade, and we had to go and pick him up on several occasions this year because he couldn't breathe and was lightheaded. My wife took him to the doctor, had to have him tested for multiple things to try to figure out why, and the simple reason was because he was afraid to take off the mask because he couldn't breathe. The teachers had him afraid. He was afraid to get in trouble. Now, I'd like to know who's going to send their 5-year-old anywhere where they're going to come home and tell me, a sergeant of Marines, that they're afraid. I was through the roof. I have another child. You guys had a nice presentation on the IEPs. My son came into the district in kindergarten, went through the IEP program, got sent over to Sable Bosse's, graduated from that, back to district. That's how hard. That's how hard my son worked. He's now in Cherokee in the inclusion classes. I can't count how many days my son came home frustrated that the teachers couldn't understand him, feeling like he wasn't being heard, trying to communicate and couldn't because he had no idea, because he doesn't think like that, the emotion of the teacher because she had a mask on. We, my wife and I, have to watch our facial emotions or body language when we speak to my son, so he understands the full gravity of what we're trying to get across to him at all times. Okay? I don't know if Matt's still here. Matt Giuliani? No? I think he already left. He was one of his baseball coaches, and we had to set up private lessons because that's how my son had to learn. My son had different difficult days in the program this year because of wearing the mask. Okay? Now, I understand you guys are in a difficult position. You have to deal with the Board of Health. You have to deal with New York State. Am I right? Madam Speaker, am I correct? But am I also correct in saying that you guys are our voice up in Albany with the New York State Board of Education? Am I correct in saying that too, or am I just assuming something completely wrong, right? So if there's something that we need that has to be addressed in Albany, we look to you guys to do that. Yes or no? Right. So, with that, and I understand people on both sides of the coin. Now, part of my training as a union member, I have a hazmat license, 40-hour hazmat course, and I renew it every year for 8 hours. I don't care what anybody tells you, whether it's an N95, P100, you can use any mask you want.
You have 5 seconds, sir.
The virus goes right through it. It doesn't do anything. The little mask that everybody's wearing up there right now, it's a Band-Aid. That's all it is. Okay? I work in the field. That's what I do. I uncover more stuff that makes people sick than any other trade. So please, let's try to do the right thing.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for your service.
What number? 43?
Hey there. So I was supposed to be number 36, but because we're flying through calling the numbers so fast, I missed my spot. So, you know, I know it's fair for everybody to get heard, right? So I work in a medical facility, and I used masks prior to COVID in my job, and there was a label on the box that has since been taken off since COVID has started. And that label says that these masks, and these are the surgical masks that go around the ear, these masks are single-use only, disposable masks. Reuse or extended use beyond 1 hour may lead to infection or cross-contamination. These masks contain an aluminum nose piece, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the mask should be stored in a cool, dry place. Avoid excessive heat, 100 degrees. So those children, even if they're wearing surgical masks, which are the only ones that do anything really even a little bit, they shouldn't be wearing them for beyond an hour, or they're not working anymore. So if we just look at the science, that's one thing. Also, you know, we've heard the term, do as I say, not as I do. So, you know, I mean, all these people trying to push rules, like January 2021, when Biden is photographed without masks on federal grounds after signing his own executive order mandating them. September 2020, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi violates the city's COVID-19 safety plan as she's filmed in a hair salon without a mask. We all saw that, right? I have a lot, but I'll just go quick because I know we get cut off real quick when we're up here. So August 2021, Alexandria Cortez sits unmasked on the steps of the Capitol with a large group of people, puts her mask on only for a group photo. And we all saw Obama's birthday party. We all have seen his birthday party pics, right? Even after his wife in 2020 accused Donald Trump of gaslighting the American people and knowingly exposing his supportive, at his events, his supporters. So, just so you know before I leave, in 2017, 2018, these are facts, the flu season had the highest number of reported pediatric deaths of 188 children. We never required masks for them. Only 7 states reported no deaths, okay? But all the other states reported a 0 to a 0.03% result in death from COVID in children under the age of 18. So just a couple of facts for you if you guys are, if you guys are getting swayed either way. I mean, I think facts are more important than anything, especially opinion. So that's it. It should be my child, my choice. That's how I feel.
43, 44.
Hi there, good evening. I am a mom of Oakdale. My child will be attending Idle Hour in his kindergarten year, who is very excited to ride the bus this year, so he can't wait. And I've been listening to the arguments, not even arguments, but the meetings over the last few months regarding mask mandates and COVID and everything else. And aside from the parents actually telling me facts, I haven't heard anything the last few months from any of you. So I also notice you're actually missing a few things: evidence, data, science, common sense, and basic human being decency. You have presented no facts at all, and I'm going to share some with you. COVID poses almost no risk to our children at all. 4.2 million children have tested positive for COVID. Of a total of 0.008 of them have died. The flu, the mother said back there, the CDC estimates that 480 children have died in the 2018-2019 season. That's more that have died from COVID in the last year and a half. Now, did anyone on this board recommend our children wear masks during the flu season? Because I don't remember that, because I went back. I don't remember any of these parents standing up asking to wear a mask during that flu season. Are any of these parents afraid to put their kids in school without a mask? The flu is more dangerous to our children than COVID, and that is an absolute fact. You want to talk about disease? Look up Munchausen by proxy. My child is more likely to get hit by a meteor falling from the sky than get killed by COVID. So what do? Should I put a helmet on him every day? Is that acceptable? That is abuse, and anyone sitting up there would accuse me of forcing my child to participate in this game of charades would absolutely call me out on it. Teaching them that the air is toxic, that everyone around them is sick. Have you ever wondered about the health effects forcing children to breathe their own exhaust all day? These parents explained it to you all night long. You guys gotta be tired of hearing this. How are they gonna pronounce the words if they can't see the educator's mouth? I'm not willing to risk the long-term health risks of my child breathing their own air all day. I'm not telling any of you parents back there what to do with your child. I'm just asking you not to take the right away from me. I was blessed with 2 beautiful souls on this earth, and it is my job to protect them. It is my God-given right to protect them, come hell or high water. Why are you putting this burden on our children? Why? It's not to protect them. They're safe. We're their parents. Of course we're going to keep them safe. It's not for the adults. They could get vaccinated or wear a mask. They have choices. I feel like, honestly, this is to protect everyone up here politically. And it's not fair anymore. And since there is a lack of facts from the board, I brought you all a few copies of the Constitution. Thank you.
45? 45?
One last thing, Ms. Kennedy.
45?
Yeah, one last thing. My child will be at school on September 9th, walking into his kindergarten class at Idlehour Elementary School with no mask on. And if anybody in that school,
45?
If anybody in that school discriminates or segregates my child for not wearing a mask, you will definitely be hearing from my attorney.
One more speaker? What number? 45 will be our last speaker this evening. Are you 45?
Yes. Would it not be a happy medium to wear these shields instead? Then you can.
Yes, I think you spoke. So Deidre, you have to sit down.
Then I can't hear you, Lee.
You have to sit. You already spoke?
Yes, so did some other people. Then at least they could see the expressions and all of that they're missing.
No one else spoke twice, Deidre.
I can't hear you.
No one else spoke twice, so you're going to have to sit down. Sorry.
Everybody else spoke already.
No, we have one more.
We're always left.
We
to come
need
up
the speaker that hasn't spoken, Deidre. A speaker that has not spoken. Anyone that need a speaker, someone 45. Is there a 45 or a 46 or a 47? Is there someone that wants to speak that hasn't spoken yet? Okay. Then. Deirdre, we need.
I'll wait until 47.
No, that's the last speaker. Last speaker. That's the last speaker coming up right now.
Hello, my name is Christine Hampson. My son is in 8th grade. He's going to be an RMS. I don't even know where to start at this point. The last year and a half has been a struggle for everybody. My son has learning issues. He struggled so badly, this child would come home in tears, feeling that so defeated, because he cannot hear what was going on, see through the shields. It's insane. The teachers, everyone was so frustrated, no one was being taught. Our children didn't learn pretty much anything. The other issue I have is this whole mask thing. Listen, we are in a free country. We have a right to choose what we want to do. If you're afraid, you want to wear a mask, put one on your kids, feel free. You do what you need to do. But my child will not be wearing a mask to school. And I'd like to know what your thoughts are all that, because if anyone touches my child, there's going to be an issue. That's number one. You will hear from my attorney. That's number two. Because as a parent, I will do what I have to protect my child come hell or high water. So that's for you to know. The other thing is our taxes pay to run this school. They pay your paycheck. Okay? We pay for our children to be taught in this school. So if we are the minority here saying that we don't want our child to wear a mask, it should be our choice, then we should have our choice as taxpayers to decide what we want to do with our children. It's that simple. It's your opportunity to actually stand up and show people that we're not going to lay down and we're not going to be told what to do. And we're not going to become this communist country, this communist community, and this is it. This is what you have to be told. This is what you have to do. You follow in line. That should not how it be. Shouldn't how it be. We have the Constitution. We have our freedoms for a reason. And all we're asking for is a choice. That's all. The choice. Give us a choice.
Hello, how you doing, Dr. Adams? My name is Craig Amarando, Connecticut resident, and I'm here tonight because, as many of you are here tonight also, we just want to be heard, and many people spoke tonight and said wonderful things, but it comes down to this, and I think I can sum it up like this. It doesn't matter what the new governor is going to decide, any mandates, anything like that. We are here, I am here tonight asking you, the superintendent, the Board of Education, you have the right to make that decision. It doesn't matter what the governor says. So many people already tonight have said that, right? Stand up, be a leader, but it's bigger than that. We all know the facts. The facts are wearing masks hurt children. It hurts children. It's not what is good for children. So, a board member, anyone that works for a school district, as I do, you're here for the kids. That's why you are here. That's it. There's no other reason. So, we're asking you, you see what the majority of Connecticut wants as parents. It's a choice. Do what's right for children. It's an easy decision. It's not hard. So it doesn't matter. I don't care what a governor says, mandates, and what they say. You are the Board of Education of Connecticut School District, the superintendent of Connecticut School District. You do what's right for our children. And that's just a choice. If people want to wear masks, great, they can wear masks. But if people don't want to wear masks, then all we're asking, please make sure that happens. Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I don't hear the motion.
I motioned.
Second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Good job, everyone.